Well, good morning. Ah, look at that. It's Casino Cindy. What's on your mind today?
Well, I was looking at our card that we got that gives you the basic stuff, what the best statistical way to go. I was thinking, what's the deal with the if you get double aces? If you're dealt double aces, it says to split them all the way across.
What do they look like?
That,
Oh, they look like that? Okay, well, let's look at that in our unique way of looking at it because the card probably is a computer program that somebody's ran to figure out what happens over millions of hands. And it may or may not be right. I think there's some discrepancies. So let's look at it and see. And I think the first thing I would want to look at is what if you have a pair of aces and you're looking at a king. And if you split those, first of all, I mean, the card calls for that, and everybody who gets aces thinks, oh, great, I got aces. But if you split them, you only get one card on each one. And there's good ones and there are bad ones. And if you're up against a 10, uh, really, there's only three good cards you can get. And one would be a 9 or an 8 or a 7 is semi good. But these two are real good because you would end up with 19, you would end up with 20. Oh, and of course the four 10-point value cards, you could get those, and there's four of those. So let's plunk them down just to help keep our just the king. Oh, and they're looking at a 10 here. Okay, so you could get any of these. That's four cards. That's good.
that's the best you can get.
That's the best you can get. 9 and 8, they're okay. This one might tie you, so I'm going to say there's five good cards, really good cards you can get out of 13. We're using the lowest common denominator thought, which is there's 13 numbers, and in a deck there's 13 times 4. There's four deuces, four aces, whatever. And of course, when you're playing six deck, there's 24 of each of them, but just to make it the simplest way for us to look at it, lowest common denominator, I'm using one of each. So in this scenario, there's five good cards you can get against your aces, okay? But there's bad cards you can get, and that would be anything from the 2, 3, 4, yeah, 7. 7 would be semi. Let's just set that in sort of in between. And you could get an ace here. Do you have another ace to put out? I got one. Could get an ace. So I would call all these bad. 2, 4, 6 bad ones. 2, 4, 5 good ones. That's 12. And the 13th is the 7 and the 8. Because if you get these, you got 18, you got 19. You might already be beat since we already assume that the dealer has a 10 underneath. At least that's what you have to play, strategize against. So in this case, 2, 4, 6 bad, because you can't hit again. These are no hand. If anything's 17 or better for the dealer, you lose. So those are bad. 2, 4, 5 that are good, and two in-betweeners. So it's basically a 50-50 kind of a deal. And, in actual play, you could get a blackjack on one and something worse on another one. And a lot of people use that theory that, well, all I do is win one. But if you do that, you're pushing. You win one, lose one. It pushes back and forth. So to my way of thinking, it's 50-50. when you're splitting aces against a 10. And okay, so that's that. But it all changes when you are going up against another up card. For instance, a 9. What if you're up against a 9?
Well, if you're up against a 9, I'd say you've got the 4 10-point cards, and the 9 is good. And in this case, the 8 would turn to a pretty good hand.
Well, yeah, because that would be 19.
Then the bad ones would be the ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
Those are all bad because you're going to assume that he's got a 10 card underneath. The dealer's going to have a 10 card under the 9. That leaves the 7, which is mediocre. It's about 50-50 whether you're going to win or lose.
Yeah, so that makes, it changes a little bit when the dealer's up card goes lower. So you've got 2, 4, 6. And by the way, this is pretty constant no matter what the dealer has up. Those are bad cards for the player if you split aces. Your chances get better as this number gets lower.
Right.
So, but now it's 2, 4, 6 good ones, 2, 4, 6 bad ones, because you can't hit again when you split aces, and the 7 is the middle card. So that really is 50-50 when you're going against a 9.
What would happen if you were going against an 8?
Well, it probably gets a little bit better. And let's take a look at it and see. Now, if you're going against an 8 and that 7 turns into a good card, because 7 and ace is 18, you might be tied. We never know what the dealer has underneath until the end. So you get a little bit better chance with the 7 showing up on the good stack. These are all still bad, ace through 6, because you only get one card. You could have 11, you could have 3, 13, whatever. At least it's not a good hand. And the average win in hand is 18.5. So really you want to get above that 18.5. So that's at least 19.
Right.
So these are all bad for splitting aces because you only get one card. Splitting other numbers like 9s and so forth, you hit them, you get a card, and then you can hit them again. So you can build a hand, and that's the benefit in those. But with aces, you're stuck. And didn't you ask me a question about well, first of all, I wanted to say you need to be watching out for these hands that'll suck all your money out of your stack. Because if you're doubled up or tripled up, say you won 3 in a row, you're going to have a nice stack of chips that you're betting, because you're betting the residual from your winning hands just prior. But these kind of hands can suck your chips dry without even knowing it. Because say you had 3 bets here, if you were betting $25 basic and you had won 3 in a row, you might have $75 bet here. Okay, so $75, but if you're going to split, you have to match that, put another 75 out, and that comes out of your stack, that you had safely tucked away and practically ready to cash them in type deal.
Right.
So you want to be careful of these things and don't let these hands draw all the money out of your winnings by doing that.
And also don't let the card intimidate you. You don't have to do what the card says. That's just statistically the most winning way to do it.
And they don't say how much you win or lose doing that. They just
Right.
say you win, you lose. It's a white jelly bean or a black jelly bean. So, but, and we're thinking about it in terms of more logical, using your money and using it wisely to play these hands. That's why we say don't be too mechanical about your play. Just because your card says split aces against a 10, I think we've kind of noticed that that's probably not a great idea.
Not all the time,
Right.
for sure.
Right, and then if this number changes to a 7, the dealer's up card is a 7. Now this 6 goes here to the good stack because you might pair. We're going to say he has a 10, 6, an ace, a 17. That could be a push. That's basically a win.
Right.
So now all of a sudden there's 2, 4, 6, 8 good cards, and there's 5 bad cards. And if you get any of these, if you get any of the bad cards, you don't hit again. You just,
That's what you get.
That's what you got. Then what happens?
What happens if the dealer has break cards showing?
Why don't you tell me? You've seen what we're doing here. Everything's good. Every hit card is good. That's my thought, because now all of a sudden you got 2 chances to win. You can get a great card here. You could get the 10, even a 6, but this is a great card. This is okay.
When the dealer gets any of the break cards, he's still going to have to hit, so it's a better chance of him breaking.
Right.
That's the second chance
Right.
you're talking about.
Exactly. So anything from ace through 6, ace 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that you get a hit with is okay, because you're not going to break yourself. You can't hit again, and the dealer could break. So that's 2 chances. That's to your advantage. Now you want to definitely split them, and you hope you have a lot of money bet to begin with, because you definitely have the advantage.
Not only getting a good hand on your side, but also the dealer breaking. That's the second chance.
Right. Okay, and then, so turn that around and say, well, what do you do about it? Well, my thought is, if you got 2 aces and you're looking, the dealer has a 10 card up, like that.
He doesn't have a blackjack.
He doesn't have a blackjack, or you'd have lost already. And, if you have a stack of chips, say this, then you don't really want to put out more money of your good money again in a iffy hand against a 10. So why not just hit it? There's a lot of room there to make a hand, and you can end up making a hand, because if you hit a 12, this is a 12, right? If you hit a 12, you could get a 9. That's going to be 21, so that'd be a real good card. You could get an 8. That'd be 20. So against a 10, that'd be pretty good. And those are the 2 good cards. Okay, but now they're the downside. If you're betting, hitting a pair of aces, you could get any of these 4 cards, and they're all bad.
You're busted.
Well, you're not busted, but you're going to have to hit again.
Right.
So you run the risk of busting. So these are definitely bad. There's 3 good cards, 4 bad cards. Now, there's all them mediocre cards that we had. Got a 2.
I do.
Okay. So these are all, I'm going to call them mediocre cards. When you're splitting aces, these are all bad cards.
Right.
But when you're hitting a pair of aces, these are semi-good, because now you can build a hand. You could get a 2, that's 14. You could get this, that's 19. You could get a 5. That's 19. This is 20. you get 20, and so forth. You can build a hand if you're just hitting the aces.
If you decide not to split, then these two aces become just a regular hand that you're playing. You don't
Right.
have to think of it in terms of doubling up or is it good or bad. You're just back to a normal hand.
Right. So yeah, that's correct, and it's, think of it as 12, 2 or 12, but you're not risking your whole other stack. You either make it or break it, and that's what you would have done if you'd have ended up with a 10 and a 2. You'd had to play it like that anyway. Don't like you mentioned, don't get too excited because you got two aces,
Right.
because they can go against you. And I guess that's
It's just a matter of looking at it logically. Like you said, don't get caught up in the fact that you split them or not split them. Don't let anybody try to rush you, or you don't have to listen to anybody else's advice. You've looked at the cards, you've seen what the odds are, and you can make your best decision that way.
yeah. At that particular time in the game, it depends on how much you have in your money stack, and how much the bet is that you've made. If it's a big stack, and it's going to draw a lot of chips out of people want to be greedy, and they think, well, I got 3 bets there, I got $150 bet, and I'll take that 150 and double it up, and it can be an easy way to lose your stack.
Go broke.
Yeah, and 1 or 2 hands in a session like that can just drain all your profits and turn a winning session into a losing session.
Right.
So don't play real mechanically. Some of them are. If you got a 20, stay on it. Nothing to think about. But when you have these aces, we've talked about 8s and 3s and other hands. There's different ways to play them, and you have to have a logical reason to play the way you play.
Right.
So I'd say that's the most information I can share with you this morning on splitting aces.
I say, why don't we try to play some better blackjack?
Well, I'm ready. Let's shuffle them up.
All right.